Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Hatha practice. As far as props for today, I suggest having a couple hard blocks and maybe one of your soft blocks as well. And I'll invite you to get started in a tall seat. So if you want to sit cross-legged, you might choose to sit up off of one of your props. And you could also have the legs extended or be in a kneeling shape, even on the back, be wherever you need to be. If you are coming with me to a seat, just take a moment to ground down whatever's touching into the floor. If you need to make any adjustments or add any extra support, then go for it. And then from here, start to lengthen the spine, lengthen that back line of the neck. Find a little softness for the shoulders, space for the chest. And if you feel ready to close down the eyes, then you might do that now. Otherwise, you might start to find a soft gaze, maybe a focal point to keep your attention. And if at any point the shape stops feeling comfortable for you, you're welcome to change it up. Otherwise, starting to find your stillness as you're ready. As you feel ready to start to invite the breath to deepen. You might bring one hand to the heart space and one hand to the belly. And with each inhale breath, find that sense of space underneath your hands. And with each exhale, if there's anything you need to let go of, go for it, ground down. Full deep inhales. And full deep exhales. Take one last deep inhale. Sigh it out. Release the arms, give the arms a little shake, give the shoulders a little wiggle. And release the legs for a moment, maybe tap the backs of the knees to the floor, and then come back to an easy pose. You can switch the cross of the legs just to keep things even. And from here, find your tall spine, lengthen the neck, and then dip the left ear down towards the left shoulder, looking for a stretch for that right side of the neck, even into the shoulder. And if this feels like plenty, then you're welcome to stay here. Option to reach the right fingertips away from you down to the floor. That might intensify the stretch. Another option would be to bring the left hand to the top of the head and without pulling, just adding some weight to deepen the sensation. Finding your level of comfort, and then breathe deeply here. Gently release the left hand down, bring the chin in towards center, towards the chest, and then roll the head over towards the right hand side. Find the stretch for the second side. And this side may feel different, so all the same options are there. You can reach the left hand to the floor this time. You can take the right hand to the head. But if the side feels different, it may need something different, so don't worry if what you choose ends up looking a little different to the first side. Breathe into your stretch. Take a last deep inhale. Exhale. And gently release the arms, bringing the chin in towards center, and then roll the head over towards the left, chin towards the chest, and the head over towards the right. And just take this movement a couple times at your pace. And when things feel good, when things feel even in the neck, you can bring the chin back towards the chest, and then lift and stack the skull on top of the spine. Take a moment to check in here, take a scan from the feet to the head, notice the neck along the way, notice if there's any spot that needs a little extra attention today, or something that you want to be a little careful with, or anything like that. And please make this practice your own, so at any point you're welcome to take breaks, you're welcome to modify, you're welcome to find a version of the shape that works better in your body. When you feel ready to move, if the eyes are closed, you can open them. We'll swing the legs around and come and find a tabletop position, and you can move your props off to the side for now. And hands roughly underneath the shoulders and knees roughly underneath the hips. We'll send the left leg straight back, and option to work with just the leg or use the opposite arm, the right arm here. And take a deep inhale, lengthen the left heel to the right fingertips. As you exhale, round in, bring the knee towards the elbow. And then inhale, reach long, and exhale to round. 5 more rounds with your breath. Last couple. Last one. Now a little different. With your inhale, reach the leg and the arm long and lower just the right hand to the floor. Now take the left foot and step it across the right leg out towards the right as far as feels comfortable for you, and stay on the ball of that foot. And then from here, we'll start to walk the torso over towards the right. And one option is to reach the left arm a little further away. If you have room, you might lower that right forearm down to the floor. See what this feels like in your body. And from here, the option might be that you can take that left hand even further towards the right. So find a stretch through the whole left side of the body. Breathe into it. All right. And then slowly coming out the way you came in, bring the left hand down, lift the right elbow if it's lowered, and we'll step the left knee to join the right. You might wiggle the hips a little bit side to side just to release. And we'll set up for the second side. So starting with the hands under the shoulders, now send the right leg straight behind. Option to reach the left arm forward as well. And take your inhale, lengthen, and round in, knee to elbow. And keep going with your breath. Using the whole inhale to lengthen, to stretch, the whole exhale to round in. Last couple. Final one. Inhale, stretch, and lower just the left hand. And take the right foot over to the left across the mat as far as you can. You might need to negotiate a little bit with your space. And then from here, arms towards the top left. And that same option to lower the left elbow to the floor, maybe to reach that right hand even further. And then find that stretch, breathe into it. And slowly making your way out, bring that right hand back, lifting the left elbow, uncrossing the legs, hips to center, and give the hips a little movement side to side. Awesome. And from here, spread the fingers nice and wide to the floor, grip the finger pads into the mat, and we'll tuck the toes, lift the knees, and find downward facing dog. And take a few breaths here, and take a moment to set up your shape as well. So if you want to find a little more distance between hands or between feet, maybe a little more or less length between hands and feet, then feel free to adjust your shape. And within it, you might be pedaling the heels a little bit, swaying the hips. You might rock forward towards plank and back towards your down dog a few times, and take whatever movement you need here. And when you're ready, come and find your stillness in your downward facing dog. And keep the hands pressing the floor away. And then from here, take both your heels down towards the right-hand side to find a side stretch. Now keep the feet pressing into the floor. Keep the hands pressing into the floor. The hips are lifted nice and high. Breathe into it. And with an inhale breath, lift the heels to center. And with your next exhale, lower them down to the second side. And same again, keep the hands and the feet firmly pressing the floor away. Find your breath. All right, inhale breath, lift the heels back up. Exhale, bend the knees and look forward. And with your inhale, you can walk your feet towards your hands and come and find your forward fold. Adjust anything you need to. Give yourself as much of a bend to the knees as you need to keep the low back happy. And then take a moment to release the head and the neck, maybe some circles, one direction and the other. You can nod yes and no. Likewise, see what the backs of the legs need here. Maybe you're pedaling a little bit and swaying the hips or anything else. If you have a bind, you can let that go. Bring the hands somewhere to the legs. With an inhale breath, find your halfway lift and lengthen. And with your exhale, sigh and fold. And again, inhale and exhale. Last one. Now inhale, halfway lift. And then pause here with the exhale. And take a moment to lengthen tailbone to the crown. Inhale. Exhale. And take your final inhale here. And with your exhale, step the right foot to the back of the mat. And we'll find a lunge shape here, so you can keep the back knee lifted. You can adjust that front foot maybe forward a little or maybe to the left a little bit. And when you're ready, find your balance and then come on up. So take a moment here, adjust whatever you need to. You might imagine that left hip is drawing back, the right hip is drawing forward so that the pelvis stays even side to side. You might also check in, see if one side of the pelvis feels higher than the other, and see if you can balance that out as well. And space for the chest, length for the spine, and take an inhale, reach the arms up. As you exhale, cactus the arms. Now staying in your cactus, inhale breath, find that space across the chest, maybe lift the gaze. As you exhale, bring the elbows towards each other and maybe round in. Inhale breath, open up. And exhale to round. And keep going. Final one like this. Now a little different. Inhale, open up. With your exhale, take the right arm underneath the left. Hands can find shoulders or find your eagle arms, backs of the hands or palms together. Now inhale breath, lift the elbows, lift the gaze. As you exhale, hinge forward, come towards a humble lunge. So the left shoulder can be on top of or just inside the left knee. If you need to widen your base again, then go for it. Keep that back foot really active here. If you need more support, you're always welcome to release the hands down to blocks or to the floor. Otherwise, breathe here. All right, gently release the hands to the floor. Lower that back knee down, and then take the left foot even further towards the left. Setting up a lizard lunge, so if the back knee needs a little padding, feel free to add some. You might also benefit from having some blocks nearby in case you want to lower to the elbows. For starters, check in with that left leg. So make sure the ankle, the knee, the hip all feel supported here. Sometimes it's necessary to change the angle of where the foot is pointing, and that can help. Sometimes flexing the foot helps as well, just to engage and keep things a little more stable. And from here, we'll come towards a fold. So if you want, you can start to walk the hands forward a little bit. Maybe there is room to lower an elbow down to the floor, maybe both. And you're welcome to use your blocks if the floor feels a little far away today. Even here, you might check in, maybe a little movement side to side or front and back, just to see what the hips feel like. And if you want to power up your shape, you're always welcome to lift the back knee up off the floor. All right, if the back knee's lifted, you can lower it down and then slowly come back onto the hands. We're heading towards a squat from here. So we'll lift that back knee back up, take a deep inhale. As you exhale, step the right foot outside the right hand, and it might need a little help to get there. Now, a standing squat is an option, especially if that works better for the knees. Otherwise, coming to your full squat, and you're welcome to use props, maybe make yourself a seat, or if the heels are lifted, that's not inherently a bad thing, but if you want to feel more grounded, you might slide a block under each one. The hands can stay on the floor for balance. Otherwise, if you like, bring the hands into prayer. Notice what the relationship is between the knees and the elbows. See if you can find some resistance between the two to help stabilize the pelvis. And from there, grow the spine long and keep the chin slightly tucked. When you feel ready, you can bring the hands down towards the floor, lift the hips nice and high, and then heel toe your feet back to comfortable hip distance. And again, it might feel nice to pedal a little bit or to sway the hips. Whenever you feel ready to come and find stillness, see if there's a bind that feels good here. You might play with interlacing the hands behind the skull, adding a little weight to the spine. Releasing your bind if you have one, hands to the legs. Take your inhale, halfway lift, and sigh. And again. Last one. Inhale, halfway lift, and pause here. Really ground the feet down, lengthen from the heels to the tailbone, even if the knees are bent. All right, take one last inhale for the transition and a big step back with the left foot. And fingertips might find the floor, adjust your stance any way you need to. Take a moment, find something that feels stable and balanced. And then pressing the feet down as you're ready, come on up and we'll find a high lunge. So again, take a moment. Right foot can go to the right, especially if things feel a little wobbly today. Both legs stay active, so the back heel is lifted. Really press the ball of the left foot into the floor. And chest, pelvis, all facing towards the front of the mat. Inhale, breath, circle the arms up. And cactus as you exhale. And stay in your cactus, but inhale, open across the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale, round in, bring the forearms to touch. Inhale, open. And exhale, close. Keep going. Last one. Inhale, open. Now exhale, left arm underneath right. Hands to shoulders or your version of eagle arms. Inhale, lift the front body, lift the chest. Exhale, hinge forward, humble warrior. Right shoulder on top of or just inside the right knee. And again, it might be necessary to widen your base here a little bit. And keep the legs really active still. Hands can release to blocks for more support. Find your breath. All right, release your fingertips to the floor, lower the back knee down, and maybe take that right foot a little to the right, maybe the left knee a little further back. Find the angle that works best with that right foot. You might even choose to track the foot in the same direction as the knee. When you have that sense of stability, you can stay up on the hands, you can walk the hands forward, and the option is there again to lower the elbows either to props or straight to the floor. And keep checking in with the rest of the body. Notice what the hips need here. You might even take that little movement and explore. And if you did so on the first side, then tucking those back toes, lifting the back knee up as you're ready. Is there anything that can soften here? Maybe it's the forehead or the space around the mouth. And if the back knee is lifted, lower it down just so that you can come up onto the hands. And again, we'll transition to a squat from here. So lifting the back knee, take a deep inhale. In one step or a couple, step the left foot just outside the left hand. And again, you might choose a standing squat of some kind or dip the hips for your full squat. And again, hands can leave the floor or stay. Palms together, and chest nice and broad, length from the tailbone to the crown. Keep the chin slightly tucked and find your breath here. As you're ready, fingertips to the floor, hips nice and high, and come and find your forward fold. Any version of the shape, and if you'd rather stay in a halfway lift shape, maybe you'll bring your props underneath your hands. Same options if you want to find a bind. And this time you might explore bringing the hands either to the low back, maybe interlacing fingers, maybe reaching hands up towards the ceiling. Whatever you're choosing, stillness or movement, and find your breath and notice the body. And if you have a bind, you can let that go. And from your forward fold, take your inhale, find a halfway lift, lengthen, and sigh. And twice more. Last one. Now to transition, inhale, halfway lift, and bring the hands down, and we'll step to a tabletop position, hands and knees. From your tabletop, we're going to set up for a side plank, and we're going to do a forearm side plank for today. So we'll start off with the left side. You can bring the left elbow down, and then take the elbow or the forearm across the mat so that it's at an angle. And we still want the elbow to be roughly underneath the shoulder. So for now, it will be slightly ahead of the shoulder, and then once you come up, it should stack right on top. And now step the feet towards the back of the mat, bring the big toes together, and when you're ready, roll on to the outside of that left foot. Now, if you want a more supportive version, you can always step the top foot down to the floor, and then you'll have something else to help press the floor away. Also, from either variation, the right hand doesn't have to leave the floor, but if it feels okay to reach it up towards the ceiling, then go for it. Also, the option to reach it towards the front of the room. Now, really press those feet into the floor. Press that elbow to the floor. If you want to close the eyes and challenge the balance, go for it. Just make sure you're breathing, whatever your shape looks like. Last 3 breaths. All right. The top arm is lifted, bring it down, come up onto the toes, and then lower the knees down to the floor. And the right arm might need a little shake out. And when you're ready, we'll go straight to the second side. So bring the right forearm down and then across, right elbow just in front of the shoulder for now. And then we'll step one foot, the other to the back of the mat, toes together, and then roll to the outside of the right foot now. All the same options. So right hand can stay down. If you need to adjust anything with the right arm, go for it. Left hand might be to the floor, maybe up towards the ceiling. Left foot can step down if you want more support. Either way, make sure that the hips are still lifted, the elbow firmly planted, the feet firmly planted, maybe top arm up and over. Breathe. One last inhale here. And lower the left hand, come to the toes, and then lower the knees as well. And hips towards the heels. Come and find a kneeling shape. It might feel good to roll the shoulders out a couple of times. Awesome. And then as you're ready, come back to your tabletop position. And from here, we'll step one foot, then the other to the back, finding a plank, and lower all the way down to the belly. Once you come down, we're going to cactus the arms, so just make sure you have room on either side. All right. And then for here, you might choose to have a soft block nearby in case you want to support the head. And we're going to set up for a chest and shoulder stretch. So for starters, bring the left fingertips to the floor, left hand roughly underneath the left elbow. And then start to press that left hand to the floor and start to open the chest over towards the left. Now see what the legs want to do. The option is there if you want to stack the feet. You could hover that top leg maybe behind you. You could step it down behind or in front of the right leg. Whatever you're choosing, make sure the body's happy with it. And here is maybe where the head is hovering uncomfortably, and you can slide a prop underneath. Now make sure that there's no pinching or anything like that through the right shoulder. Make sure it feels like a pain-free expression, even if it feels a bit intense. If everything is secure and you want to de-weight the left hand, go for it. You could reach it up, maybe to the hip or behind you as well. All right, release the left hand to the floor if it's lifted. You can bring the right foot back down And then unravel, turn the chest back towards the floor. We'll set up for the second side straight away. So cactus the left arm, right fingertips to the floor underneath the right elbow. And again, start to roll your way over, this time opening the chest towards the right. And see what the body wants for this side. It may feel a little different. The legs can stack, all the same options. You can hover the top leg, you can step it down behind or in front. And the option to rest the head on a pillow. And see what this side needs. Make sure that the left shoulder is happy with whatever you've chosen. You can always back out. And if everything is secure through head, neck, and shoulders, then maybe the right arm wants to reach up or hover behind. All right, bring the right hand down first, then slowly unravel the chest down to the floor. Bring yourself back to center if you've shifted. You can move your props out of the way here. And then tent the fingertips out to the side. Inhale, breath, lift the heart space up. Exhale, soften. And twice more. All right. Now from here, reach the arms back by your sides. So a few options for your locust pose. The hands can stay down the whole time. Also the option to interlace the fingers at the low back. Choose the awkward clasp. Now, nothing has to lift up off the floor that you don't want to. So think about that just for a moment. And then ground down the pelvis to the floor. Make it feel really heavy. Make the body feel long, so reach from the toes to the crown of the head. And then with an inhale, lift whatever you like up off the floor. Maybe feet, maybe head, maybe the arms lift up, maybe they lift up off the low back as well. Imagine you're lifting long, so keep that length. The crown of the head is reaching forward, the gaze towards the floor, big toes zip together. Deep breaths here. Now, if you want to stay, you can stay for up to 5 more breaths. When you're ready to release, lower down to the floor. You might stack the palms under the forehead and give the hips a little movement side to side. Only when you feel ready to move again, bring the hands under the shoulders and press yourself up to a tabletop position. And from your tabletop, bring the hips towards the heels and then look around for your heart blocks. We're going to set up for a camel variation, and rather than coming up onto the knees and then leaning back into it like we do sometimes, we're going to come in from the floor with the props already in the hands. So you can choose what height setting you want, especially if you're familiar with the pose and you know that you like a certain one, then go for it. Just be a little mindful if you have the thinner blocks that they don't feel too wobbly. So choose something that feels stable. Now from here, think about the distance between the knees. Find just that natural hip distance apart, so maybe a few inches between, whatever feels comfortable. And then bring your hands down to your props and bring them behind you. Now from here, we'll press the hands into the props into the floor and lift the pelvis up any amount. So this might feel like a good place to stay, but check in with the knees here, see if they need anything a little different. You can always fold your mat for extra padding. Now the bum's working hard here, the back body's working hard, and breathe into that whole front body. You might have space to lift the pelvis a little bit higher. You might have space to walk the blocks a little bit closer. So see what that feels like. And then you can take that in stages, maybe a few breaths, and maybe explore a little deeper. Think about what you want to do with the neck as well. Option to bring the gaze up towards the ceiling. If letting the head go back feels bad for the neck, then chin can stay tucked the whole time. You can also fluctuate between them. And breathe wherever you are. All right. To come out, you can bring the hips towards the heels, but if you walk the hands in, just walk them back a little so that you have room. And once the hips touch down, come and find your kneeling shape. If you need a little more support, then maybe something between hips and heels, or you can swing the legs around as well. And pause. In a moment, we'll set up to take one more round of the back bend. So if you want to do that, then great. But if for any reason you want to sit that one out, then you may choose to stay in a kneeling shape and you might choose stillness. You could also do a gentle cat-cow here if you still want some movement for the spine. If you're ready and you're coming with me for one more back bend here, then start off maybe the same way. If you learned anything the first round that you want to include this time, then go for it. And then think about pressing the hands into the floor, lifting the pelvis up high, and check in to see what you need here. Even the tops of the feet can be involved. Press them into the floor, and then maybe you're walking those blocks a little closer in. Last few deep breaths. If you need a little more time in this shape, you're welcome to stay. When you're ready to come out, maybe walk the blocks back a little bit, hips towards the heels, come and find your kneel. Maybe stillness feels good. Maybe a few rounds of seated cat-cow. Or if you like, come with me to a twist. Take a deep inhale, circle the arms up. As you exhale, twist towards the right, and then let the hands land wherever they land. If the floor is far away, use one of your blocks. And take a few deep breaths into your twist. If you're twisted with me, inhale breath, unravel, reach the arms high. And over to the left as you exhale, hands land wherever they land. Inhale, unravel back to center, reach the arms high. And this time, keep the right hand lifted, lower the left hand down. So maybe left hand is to the floor or to a block if the floor is far away. Set a side stretch. Inhale, reach the right arm high. As you exhale, reach the right arm over to the left, any amount. Keep the right side of the pelvis heavy. You might even lean into it a little bit. Find a stretch through the whole right hand side. And then inhale, breath, come on up. Release the right hand down. Maybe a block. Reach the left arm up with an inhale and over to the right. A few deep breaths through that whole left hand side. Inhale, breath, lift. Release the arms, maybe give the shoulders a little movement, maybe the hands want a little shake out. And we'll head towards downward facing dog, but take about 8 breaths to get there. If there are any shapes you need along the way, if you want to visit child's pose, if flow is part of your practice and you want to take a flow, then go for it. Meeting in down dog when you feel ready. When you're ready from downward facing dog, we'll set up for pigeon pose. So with an inhale, lift the left leg up behind you any amount. And then as you exhale, we'll bring the left knee and plant it behind the left wrist, left foot over towards the right any amount. So see what the shape feels like to begin with. Find an angle with that right shin that works for you. So the right foot might be pointing a little further back or straight out to the side. Make sure that whatever you choose, the left knee is happy with. And then you might choose to shift that right knee a little further back in space. You can untuck the toes and see if either side needs a little support. If you find yourself leaning deeply over, especially maybe towards the left, you might choose to prop that side up. One option is to stay upright the whole time, and this might feel just different in the hips. You might choose it. If you want to bring the hands forward, then go for it. If you want to lower to elbows, then see if the floor is far away, bring your props back in. Maybe you have the option to lower even further. And depending on where you end up, if the head is hovering, then maybe a block for the forehead as well. Notice if there's any part of the upper body, especially that's holding, especially after camel, and maybe you can start to soften that here. It's no longer supporting you. We're about halfway through the shape, so if there's anything that you need to adjust, then go for it. And if you want to come out sooner, you're also welcome to do that. And think about your exit. If you're lowered down, then you can walk the hands back in first. We'll exit to a three-legged tabletop. So you can tuck the back toes, bring that back knee a little bit closer, and then when you're ready, send the right leg behind you. You can draw some big circles in one direction, then the other. If you'd rather be in a three-legged dog, then go for it. Moving out that leg any way that feels good here. And when you're ready, you can lower the left knee down to the floor. And then press the palms down, lift the knees, and we'll find downward facing dog. And pedal the heels a little bit, sway the hips. And when you're ready, we'll set pigeon for the second side. So inhale, breath, lift the right leg up. And then as you exhale, bring the right knee behind the right wrist, the right foot over to the left, lower the left knee. Maybe shifting the left knee back, and then check in here. This side may feel completely different to the first. Maybe the shape doesn't even work at all, in which case you're welcome to modify. Find the angles that work best for you here. See what props work for support, especially if you find yourself leaning heavily to one side. And if everything feels secure, you're welcome to dip in, and you may end up somewhere a little different to the first side, using any of your props for support. We're about halfway through. If you need to adjust anything, then go for it. As you're ready to come out, you can start to walk the hands in a little bit closer, lifting yourself up. And tucking the back toes, bringing that back knee in. And heading towards your three-legged tabletop as you're ready. And choose whatever movement feels good. You can circle a few times, bend and extend. Anything you need. And when you're ready, come back to your tabletop position. Moving your props off to the side. And then from here, bring the forearms down to the floor, elbows roughly underneath the shoulders. And step one foot, then the other to the back of the mat, so you're in your forearm plank. You're always welcome to lower the knees if you want a gentler version. Otherwise, elbows keep pressing down, feet keep pressing down. If there's pressure in the low back, maybe lift the hips a little harder. And imagine you're reaching from the crown of the head to the heels. Last few deep breaths, soften the face. And when you're ready, lower the knees down to the floor, and we'll set up for Sphinx pose. You can untuck the toes, maybe walk the elbows forward a little bit until they're roughly underneath the shoulders. Forearms can stay together, or you can bring them parallel. Notice what the shoulder points are doing and see if you can imagine rolling them up, down, and back, even though they won't move too much from this shape. And space for the chest, softness, anywhere you can find it. And even here, if you want to release the feet a little bit more, then go for it. You can let the heels kind of flop any way they like. Each time you exhale here, finding a heaviness in the body, grounding down, softening anything you don't need. As you're ready, slowly lower the chest down. You can take the elbows wide, maybe stacking palms under the forehead. If you like to slide the left knee up to the left, then go for it. Think of almost like a tree pose, but on the belly. If you slip the left knee up and bring it back to center, and then slide the right. And the right leg re-extends when you're ready, and we'll roll on to the back. You can get there any way you like. You can set yourself up, find one of your hard blocks and bring it down towards the right-hand side. I'm going to talk through a one-legged twist, but if you'd rather do a two-knee twist or any other twist, then go for it. I'm going to extend the right leg down to the mat and then hips over to the left a few inches. And with the right hand, I'm going to guide the left knee across the body and land it onto the prop for support. And sometimes tucking the left toes underneath the right leg can help secure the left leg in place. Right hand can stay here for support. Left arm might reach wide. You could also take it up towards the floor overhead and see what feels better for today. And if you like to take the gaze away from the knees, then maybe the head an inch over towards the right and lower the gaze to the left. If the head is turned, you can bring that back to center first, and then slowly unravel the legs back to center. And we'll set straight for the second side, so if you're using a prop, bring it down to the left. Extend the left leg long, hip to the right a few inches, and then guide the right knee across the body. If this side feels a little different, feel free to modify it in any way and find the arm expression that feels best. And if you're adding the neck twist, then head to the left an inch and gaze down towards the right. If the head is turned, bring the head back to center and then slowly unravel. It might feel nice to scoot the hips to midline, take the feet nice and wide, maybe windshield wiper the knees side to side a few times. And when you're ready, collect the knees into the chest, and you can wrap the arms around the shins, maybe bring the head towards the knees, and then give yourself a rock side to side. And then give yourself a rock up and down the length of the spine, mindful of the neck, massaging the back. Awesome. And then settling back on the back, take the knees a little wider, reach through for a happy baby. You can catch the feet, the ankles, or the shins. You can keep the feet pointing away from you or bring them up towards the ceiling. Just mindful of the low back. If the low back is lifting up off the floor, then prioritize keeping that grounded versus where the feet are pointing. Even here, a little movement might feel nice. You can rock side to side. You can play with extending one leg and then rebending to extend the other. Take about 8 breaths, move any way you like, or choose stillness. And when you're ready, you will release the feet down to the floor. Well, we're heading towards Shavasana, so take a moment and see what shape would feel the most comfortable for you for today. And you're welcome to take the legs extended down the mat. You can bring props underneath the knees. If you'd rather be in a butterfly shape, maybe choose soles of the feet together and knees wide. If there's any other shape at all, then go for it. And if for any reason being on your back isn't working for you today, then maybe a seated meditation. You could even come to child's pose or something like that. The hands can be anywhere on the body, beside it, even overhead. And take a moment if there's anything you need to adjust in your space, like lowering the lights or adding on an extra layer, anything like that, go for it. And take a moment to notice the space around the eyes, the space around the mouth, and see if there's anything that can soften there. As you feel ready, you let the body get heavy and settle yourself in for your rest. Gently deepen the breath to reawaken the body. And from wherever they are, bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. And take a deep, expansive inhale. Full sigh. And again. One more. Release your arms, start to rotate the wrists, wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, maybe rotate the ankles. You might take a full body stretch, reach the arms up overhead, point from the fingertips, point for the toes. When you're ready, roll onto a side wherever you have the most room. Take a pause for a breath or two to let the body settle. With the support of your hands, coming up to find any comfortable seated position, using any of your props for support. Take a moment to settle the body, to lengthen the spine, soften anything you don't need. And take a scan from the feet to the head just to check in, notice. The hands can stay where they've landed, or palms can meet at the heart. And bow the chin in towards the chest. And thank you for sharing your breath and your practice today. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for your yoga practice today. And my name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and have a great week.